We are solving a reading passage. These are the title and the subtitle. Livestock means farm animals like sheep, cows, and goat. Guard dogs are dogs which are trained to protect livestock. The title is saying that livestock guard dogs now have a new job, a new role they can play. Then the subtitle tells us that traditionally, that is for a long time, guard dogs used to protect farm animals, but now they are protecting predators too. Predators are the animals which kill other animals for food. For example, a lion eating a deer. The lion is the predator, the deer is called the prey. So, in the subtitle, we have that the guard dogs are now protecting both the farm animals and the predators. Another word I want to mention before we start is species. This is a word that we see in this passage, but I've also seen it used very commonly in other reading passages. Species means a type of animal or plant. So sometimes when it says this animal attacks other species, it just means it attacks another type of animal. There are three question types: matching information, that is, which paragraph contains the information, matching features, and gap fill questions. We'll do them in the reverse order. The gap fill questions are usually the easiest of the three. And I always recommend doing matching information questions last because they become easier once we are a little familiar with the passage. Here's question 37. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. In the question, the first sentence has no blank, but it is connected to the sentence with the blank. So we study both together. The question is saying that in Namibia, cheetahs attack domestic animals or farm animals or livestock. So guard dogs are used to protect them. This has led to means because of this. So because of this, the deaths of some other predators have increased. Particularly tells us that we are looking for an example. So we are most probably looking for the name of an animal, the name of a predator. We have two keywords in this question, Namibia and cheetahs, which should be easy to find in the passage because they are unlikely to have synonyms. So we scan the passage and see that both are mentioned in two paragraphs, paragraph D and paragraph F. There are two hints that tell us the answer is more likely to be in paragraph F. The first and biggest hint is the heading of the question, Unintended Ecological Effects of Using Guard Dogs. This is mentioned in the first sentence of paragraph F. The second hint is question 40. It mentions the word nests, which is another word which is unlikely to have a synonym. If we scan the passage, we find this word in paragraph G. Since gap fill answers are usually in order and they are usually close to each other, chances are that question 37 should be in paragraph just before that, which is paragraph F. But we still check paragraph D quickly. In paragraph D, we see a mention of Namibia and cheetahs. It says, livestock losses have reduced, which means the livestock or domestic animals are being saved. After that, there is a mention of cheetahs and wolves. What it says here is that if the livestock is saved, in this example, if a cow is saved, then the rancher or the farmer will not want to kill a wolf. So this is saying the opposite. It is not mentioning that the wolf is being killed. So we move on to paragraph F. In paragraph F, from the beginning itself, we see that reducing the deaths of one type of predator, which could be cheetahs, may have a negative impact on other species, which could be the other predators. It says cheetahs kill sheep and goat, but because of guard dogs, maybe fewer cheetahs are being killed by farmers. However, the number of jackals killed by dogs and people has actually increased. So it is clearly mentioned that there is a rise in the deaths of jackals. You can see it in green on your screen. After that, another animal is mentioned, Ethiopian wolves. But this part is about the spread of diseases. It is not relevant to the question. So the answer to question 37 is jackals. Here are the questions 38 and 39. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. Question 38 says that dogs have something, and this something can affect other species. So we have to find out what dogs have that affects other species. Question 39 says that they may reduce the amount of something. They refers to the dogs. Dogs may reduce the amount of something, and this something is available to certain or some wild animals. We found the previous answer in paragraph F. After that, we see a mention of wild animals. So, this is where we continue looking for the answers. First, it says that guard dogs have ecological impacts, which means they have an impact on the environment in general and on other animals, other species, etc. Guard dogs spread diseases to wild animals, and one example of such wild animals is Ethiopian wolves, which is endangered. So, what do dogs have that can affect the other species? Diseases. So, here we have the answer to question 38. After that, it says that they may also compete with other carnivores for food. Carnivores are animals which eat meat. Compete is another form of the word competition. There is competition because both dogs and the other carnivores want the same food. So, dogs are reducing the amount of food available to those animals. So, the answer to question 38 is diseases, and the answer to question 39 is food. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph F. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 40. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. It says dogs protect birds' nests. Otherwise, or without the dogs, these nests may be attacked by predators. Such as means we are looking for an example. So we are looking for the name of a predator which attacks birds' nests, and these nests are protected by the dogs. The previous answer was from paragraph F. The word nests is mentioned in paragraph G. It says that guard dogs have unexpected benefits because they protect vulnerable wildlife. Vulnerable wildlife here refers to the birds. So, an example of this is given after this, which mentions the birds. Raid means attack. So, it says that their presence or presence of the dogs protect the birds' nests. Otherwise, or normally, the foxes would raid or attack the nests. So, the nests are threatened by foxes. The answer to question 40 is foxes. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph G. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here are all the gap fill answers and their locations in the passage. And this is the step-by-step method we follow to solve these questions. Note that the answers are in order and close to each other. In these questions, one major issue we faced is that the keywords Namibia and cheetahs were mentioned in two paragraphs. So, if we had started looking for the answer in paragraph D, we would have ended up spending a lot more time. What helps is the heading above the questions: Unintended ecological effects of using guard dogs, which matches the beginning of paragraph F. We see two words in these questions which tell us we are looking for an example: particularly and such as. Now we start with the next set of questions, the matching features questions. In this question type, we are given some statements and a list of people. We need to match each statement to the correct person. So basically, we need to find who said what. One thing to check first in the instruction: sometimes it says you may use any letter more than once. That means the same person can be the answer to more than one question. Here, that instruction is not given, so each person will be used only once. Next, we read and understand each question. The meanings are on your screen and we'll go through them as we solve each question. Then we look at the names in the list and see where they appear in the passage. Here we can see that Sylvia Ribeiro is mentioned in two paragraphs, while everyone else is mentioned only in one paragraph each. These are the only paragraphs we need to focus on when looking for the answers. Another thing that helps in this question type is focusing on the parts where the people actually speak or express their views. Those parts are usually the most useful for finding the answers. For example, in paragraph B, the highlighted parts are the things that Dan McCon says. We may sometimes need to read a little before or after for context, but our main focus should be on his statements. On your screen, each person's statements are shown in a different color. Notice that this is not a lot of text. We don't have to go through the whole passage to look for these answers. That makes these questions easier and faster to solve. Question 32. The use of guard dogs may save the lives of both livestock and wild animals. So we are looking for guard dogs saving both the farm animals and the wild animals. There are two ways we can quickly find where the answer is. First, we scan the parts where the different people are speaking. Predators are mentioned in many places, but mostly in the context of them attacking livestock. In paragraph D, we see a mention of common ground. So we read this paragraph more closely. Another thing that can help is reading just the first sentence of each paragraph. The first sentence of paragraph D says, "But today's guard dogs have a new role to help preserve the predators." Predators are the wild animals. Normally, guard dogs protect livestock, but this sentence tells us that they may also help protect the predators. That immediately points us towards paragraph D. If we read only the part where Julie Young is speaking, the language is slightly difficult. Perspective means the way of looking at something. So, the livestock perspective means protecting the farm animals, and the conservation perspective means protecting nature and wildlife. Julie Young says there is common ground, which means both sides can benefit. Then she gives an example. Ranchers are farmers who raise cattle. If ranchers don't have a dead cow, means the guard dogs have protected the cow from the predators. So the ranchers have no reason to ask for a permit or permission to kill a wolf. In other words, the guard dogs are helping save both the livestock and the wild animals. This idea is explained a little more simply before Julie Young is mentioned. It says when guard dogs were introduced, farmers reported a dramatic reduction in livestock losses, and as a result, they were less likely to kill the predators. So, lives of predators or wild animals are also being saved. So, this statement matches what Julie Young says. The answer to question 32 is D. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph D. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 33. Claims are things that people say are true. They may or may not actually be true. Here, those using livestock are the farmers. So the farmers are claiming or saying that their behavior has changed. But the question says that these claims may not be totally accurate or may not be completely true. So once again, we scan the parts where different people are speaking. In paragraph C, there is a mention of the performance of dogs being excellent. But there is nothing that says that it may not be true. Later it says predation stopped completely. So these could be claims, but there is no suggestion that this information may not be correct. We do see some such mention in paragraph E. When we look at the first sentence of each paragraph, the first sentence of paragraph E also gives us a good hint. This is something about the changed behavior of farmers. So we read paragraph E more carefully. It says that the farmers said they no longer killed predators. This is a change of behavior. Self reported results means claims. Bethany Smith says that these results or these claims should be taken with a pinch of salt. This is an idiom. It means don't completely believe something because it may not be entirely true. So the farmers are claiming they no longer kill predators, but Bethany Smith says we should be careful about believing those claims. The answer to question 33 is E. Bethany Smith. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph E. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 34. Widespread means something that is happening in many places. The question is saying that if not enough farmers in different places use livestock guard dogs, there may be negative results. We scan the parts where the different people are speaking. In paragraph E, we see a mention that in some regions almost every farmer has guard dogs, while in other regions only one or two farmers have them. So this means the guard dogs are not widespread. Everyone doesn't have them. In paragraph E, the beginning part is Bethany Smith's statement. Towards the end, we have something spoken by Sylvia Ribeiro. That is the part we need to focus on. She says, if we are not working with everybody, that is, if everyone doesn't have guard dogs, or if guard dogs are not sufficiently widespread, the wolf pressure is transferred to the neighbor's herd. Wolf pressure refers to the predators. The neighbor's herd is the livestock of some other farmer. So, if one farmer has guard dogs but the neighbor doesn't, the wolves may move to the neighbor's farm. The neighbor may then use poison and kill the wolves. This is the negative result. So, the answer to question 34 is B. Sylvia Ribeiro. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph E. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 35. As long as means only if. The question is saying that guard dogs are the best way to protect farm animals, but only if they are handled or managed properly. So we scan the parts where the different people speak. We see many positive words like highly effective, very good, excellent, and predation stopped completely. But one phrase stands out: the most efficient. The question says the best and the most efficient has the same meaning. Both are talking about the highest level, not just something that is good. We also see the words managed and used properly. So, this is the part we focus on. In paragraph C, two people are mentioned. In the beginning, we have a statement by Sylvia Ribeiro. We focus on the second half of this paragraph. Linda Van Bemmel says, if they, the guard dogs, are managed and used properly, that is, if they are appropriately handled, they are the most efficient control method. They are the best way of protecting farm animals or livestock. The answer to question 35 is C. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph C. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 36. This question is a comparison between how we train a livestock guard dog and how we train a house guard dog. The question is saying the focus or the method is different. When we scan the parts where the different people speak, paragraph B immediately stands out. It mentions training and guarding the front porch. A porch is the covered space outside the front door of a house. There's a picture on your screen to help you understand. Initial training means the beginning of training. Dan McCon says, from the very beginning, these dogs, that is the livestock guard dogs, are taught that livestock is going to be their life. Then he says, too much human affection or human love makes a dog better at guarding the front porch. This refers to a house guard dog. So the focus is different. The livestock guard dogs are trained so that they think the livestock is most important, and a house guard dog is trained with human affection. The answer to question 36 is A. Dan McCon. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph B. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here are all the matching features answers and their locations in the passage. This is the step-by-step method we followed to solve these questions. The main idea in this question type is to find where each person is mentioned and then focus on what that person says. There are two important things to remember. First, the same person may be mentioned in more than one paragraph. For example, Sylvia Ribeiro is mentioned in paragraph C and later in paragraph E. We get answer from here. So you must pay attention to where each person is mentioned and which part is actually relevant to the question. The second important thing is that sometimes more than one person is mentioned in the same paragraph. In that case, you have to be careful about who is saying what. Pay attention to the quotation marks. Otherwise, it is very easy to match a statement to the wrong person. If you follow these steps, matching features questions become much easier and much faster to solve. Now we start with the matching information questions, that is, which paragraph contains the information. These are the first question type in the passage, but we are doing them last because they are usually easier once we are already familiar with the passage. One important instruction to notice is you may use any letter more than once. This instruction is given in these questions. This means the same paragraph can be the answer to more than one question. There are several ways to find the answers. Sometimes the questions themselves give us clues that help us narrow down where to look. For example, a person's name, a place, a number, or a list of things can quickly help us find the correct paragraph. Another useful technique is to think back to the information we have already read while solving the previous question types. Very often, the first sentence of a paragraph helps because it often introduces the main idea. If these methods don't help, we simply scan the paragraphs using the keywords and ideas from the question. Now let's start. First, we read and understand each question and identify what kind of information we are looking for. On your screen, you can see the main idea we are looking for in each question. We'll discuss each one as we solve it. Question 27. Predators are animals that hunt and kill other animals. This question is asking an example of a predator that has been protected because of livestock guard dogs. There are two important clues in the question: example and how. Example tells us we are looking for the name of a predator, name of an animal. How tells us we also need to find the way that predator is protected. While solving the gap fill questions, we already read paragraphs D and F. Both these mention predators. In paragraph F, we found that jackals were being killed more, so that cannot be the answer. Paragraph D, however, talked about protecting predators. So that is a much better place to look. The first sentence of paragraph D also gives us a strong clue. It says that guard dogs have a new role to help predators. That matches the question almost exactly. So, paragraph D says when guard dogs reduce livestock losses, farmers become less likely to kill predators. In other words, the dogs protect farm animals, so farmers no longer feel the need to kill predators. And we have an example of cheetahs in Namibia. So, this is the example, and this is the detail about how they are protected. So, the answer to question 27 is D. Another paragraph you might get confused by is paragraph A. It also mentions predators such as wolves and bears, but it does not explain how guard dogs help protect these predators. The question asks for an example and the way the predator is protected. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph D. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 28. Optimistic means hopeful about the future. The question is asking for a positive suggestion about what may happen in the future because of livestock guard dogs. If we look at the first sentences of the paragraphs, paragraph G gives us one clue. It says these consequences aren't always negative. That tells us the paragraph may talk about positive effects. A useful reading tip: when a question talks about the future, I usually check the last paragraph first. In many passages, the last paragraph talks about future possibilities or gives a conclusion. If I don't find the answer there, then I check the first paragraph. If it isn't there either, I scan the rest of the passage. So let's look at paragraph G. The paragraph talks about the benefits of guard dogs. It explains that they can protect wildlife. Then, in the last sentence, it says that if we can get this right, that is, if we use the guard dogs in the right manner, there may be a bright future for guard dogs in promoting harmonious coexistence between humans and wildlife. Harmonious means peaceful, coexistence means living together. This is exactly what the question is asking. Something hopeful or optimistic about future. So the answer to question 28 is G. You might also think about paragraph C because it says if the dogs are managed properly, they are the most efficient control method. However, this paragraph is mainly talking about how effective guard dogs are now. It does not really make a suggestion about the future. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph G. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 29. This question is asking for a description of the methods livestock guard dogs use to keep predators away. An important word here is methods, the ways of doing something. It's plural and it tells us we are looking for two or more methods. If we look at the first sentences of the paragraphs, none of them directly mention the methods. However, they do help us narrow down where to look. Paragraph A is mainly an introduction. Paragraphs D to G are about the effects of using guard dogs, both positive and negative. That leaves paragraphs B and C, which explain how the dogs work. Let's check paragraph C first. It says guard dogs are highly effective. It also says that predation stopped or attacks decreased. But it does not explain how the dogs achieve this. It tells the result, not the methods. In paragraph B, two clear methods are mentioned. First, the dogs place themselves between the livestock and any threat, barking loudly. Second, if necessary, they chase away the predators. These are the methods the question is asking about. So the answer to question 29 is B. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph B. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 30. Claims are things that people say are true. They may or may not really be true. We have already seen this word in question 33, where it was about people saying that their behavior has changed after using livestock guard dogs. And here we had a synonym of claims, self-reported results. In question 30, we have academics. Academics are researchers or university teachers. So the question is saying that different academics claim or say that guard dogs are a successful way of protecting farm animals. So here we are looking for more than one person, more than one academic talking about livestock guard dogs and saying that they are a successful method. So, most probably, we'll find the names of two or more researchers in the same paragraph. It is possible that the paragraph may simply say that many researchers say this. But first, we'll look at paragraphs which mention two or more people. In the previous question type, matching features, we have already gone through the passage to see where different people are mentioned. There are two paragraphs where more than one researcher is mentioned, paragraph C and paragraph E. So we look at these two paragraphs. In paragraph C, both researchers make positive comments about livestock guard dogs. In paragraph E, however, Bethany Smith questions the reliability of evidence. She says, maybe they are not successful, they are not that effective. So, both the people in paragraph E don't seem to be talking good things about livestock guard dogs. Also, the first sentence of paragraph C says that the evidence indicates the guard dogs are highly effective. This also matches the idea in the question. So, in paragraph C, three academics are mentioned. First, Sylvia Ribeiro says the performance of the dogs is very good or excellent, which means they are successful. Then Linda Van Bummel and Chris Johnson say that predation stopped completely after they got the dogs. All of them give positive evidence that livestock guard dogs successfully protect farm animals. So the answer to question 30 is C. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph C. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Question 31. A reference to means a mention of something. Skills are abilities that are learnt through training or practice. The question is asking how livestock guard dogs gain their skills. That is, how do they learn to do their job or how are they trained? In question 36, we already saw a comparison between the training of livestock guard dogs and house guard dogs. And in question 29, we found the description of how guard dogs protect livestock. Both of these answers came from paragraph B. So there's a good chance we'll find this answer there as well. When we read paragraph B, it explains how these dogs are trained. They are raised with farm animals, and over time, the farm animals become the dog's family. So, how these dogs are trained is how they gain their skills. The answer to question 31 is B. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph B. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here are all the answers to the matching information questions and their locations in the passage. This is the step-by-step method we followed to find them. Two main things helped us find these answers. First, We used the information we had already found while solving the other question types. That is why we left these questions until the end. Second, the first sentence of a paragraph often gave us a clue about what the paragraph was mainly about. Of course, if neither of these methods work, we simply scan the passage using the keywords and ideas from the question until we find the relevant information. Before we finish, here is a quick revision. Pause wherever you want to read and understand. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph A, paragraph B, this is paragraph C, paragraph D, E, paragraph F, and finally, here are the meanings from paragraph G. With this, we are done with all the reading passages of Cambridge IELTS Reading Academic Book 20. Hope these helped you. All the very best.